Woohoo! Welcome everyone to the Top Signal Show. Excited to be here this week. Basically, everything we do on this show is breaking down the latest trends on crypto, new tools on OKX, and we're always bringing on some of the hottest guests in the space. I'm Elizabeth Olsen. I'm joined here by Camski, co-founder of Mood Labs, and quick disclaimer, everything on the show is for informational purposes only and reflects our guests' own views, not necessarily those of OKX. This is not financial advice. Crypto is risky, so always do your own research. Yeah, how's it going, chat? What's up? What's good?
Hi everyone, good to see you. I see the chats already popping off here. Some people are asking about some coins. I guess we'll get into the meme coin section a bit later. Give me a moment to catch my breath. I just came back from Abu Dhabi and Breakpoint. It was crazy. Honestly, it was such a nice conference. I can't wait to just debrief. I managed, as you can see, I'm like back in my usual setup. I managed to have a little, studio in my hotel room last week. I feel like it was kind of a vibe. But back with my Pokemon, so I'm really, really happy to be back. And I feel like we have a lot of news this week. We have a lot to talk about. So
Yeah, so much to break down this week. And I definitely have a lot of FOMO from Breakpoint. It's looked like a really amazing conference.
yeah,
And we were just
I miss
chatting
you.
earlier. You said it had like the perfect setup, like not too much happening, not too many side events, so you could easily plan your day, which I really appreciate for a conference. I feel like I'm always like having massive
Oh,
FOMO if I'm there.
yeah. It was good, honestly. And, the weather is nice in Abu Dhabi, and there was like one big event, and I feel like there weren't that many sides to pick from. And also, everything was quite condensed in one area, which made it so easy to get around. Like, yeah, it was well done. I feel like and we're going to be talking about trends and prediction for next year. I think in terms of industry, where there's a bit of a event fatigue happening, and so we're seeing
Mm.
a lot of companies just sticking together. Of course, a lot of budgets were kind of cut due to the market right now, but at least we're going for more like curation, definitely better merch, and really putting effort into giving an experience to people, right? As opposed to having like massive, like a huge volume of things to do. So it was great. I met a lot of our community. We saw a lot of the Top Signal listeners. A big love to everybody that's been watching us for the last 7 weeks. It's been crazy. It's been so fun to do this all together. And especially when you get to meet people in real life that watch your show, there's no better feeling than that. So big love to everybody
Yeah.
there. Big love to the chat that's showing up. Yeah, I see a lot of friends in the chat here. Big love to you guys.
Yeah, I have to say it was so fun also in Art Basel, just hearing people come up and say, "Oh, I'm watching your show," I'm listening in and loving a lot of people are like coming in through different guests that we bring on. And so that's one thing that I think is so fun is that by having guests from all different backgrounds, you get to really tap into all these different communities and people with all these different interests and niche parts of the crypto space. So but of course, like today, we have an incredible guest coming on in just a few minutes. David Hoffman, who's been in the space for years. He's also incredible show host, one of the most prominent shows in the space period. It's like on board probably a generation of crypto people to the space. Um,
Who hasn't
so
watched Bankless?
yeah, seriously. That was one of the first show podcasts I remember watching when I was just getting into crypto and trying to figure out what is everything, what is going on. It was Bankless and the Pump podcast, I think was what brought me in. How about yourself, Kamsi?
It was a
Were you a
friend.
big podcaster? Or did that bring you in or okay.
No, for me it was a friend that was from uni that was mining, and then other stuff which I will
Oh.
not mention here live.
Good one. Okay.
But yes, back to the
Well,
markets. We're
before
very far. We're very far from when I entered, and I know that the sentiment's been like really bad lately. But if I think back to early days, or at least for my early days, where I think BTC was at like 2K, and seeing it now at 87, I know it's been going sideways and a little bit down. We've been having a correction right now. Let me share my screen. But if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed by, no, wait, not this screen. How do I change this? Okay, here we go. You should be seeing my trading.
Yeah, it seems that
Yes.
we're seeing a lot of like clustering around that 83K price range for Bitcoin. And it all seems to be driven by this trust market mean, ETF cost basis, and 2024 yearly cost basis. So hopefully, it sounds like if we don't keep reach this 86K barrier, this is like our first line of defense. As long as we're hovering above 86K, we shouldn't see this retesting of 80K opening back up. So hopefully we can hold on and keep pushing above 86K. I think is pretty healthy.
Yeah, and if you feel overwhelmed, just look back and zoom out a little bit. It's definitely intimidating to be on a smaller time frame. Just remind yourself why you're here. Look at other assets as well. There's definitely still some move in the market, but it's been a little bit. It's been sideways. So a lot of people are wondering as well. Is this the end of the 4-year cycle? Are we still
Right.
are these the fundamentals? Have they changed and so on? I guess we can talk about it later. I'm very curious what David thinks of this. And yeah, there's been quite a lot of news. We've obviously had some rate changes. The Bank of Japan is expected to hike rates at a 0.75% on the 19th December. So like this Thursday and Friday. And then major drop 8% in part because Japan was raising their 2-year bond yield to a 17-year high. And so if the yen strengthens sharply post-announcement, expect risk off moves across crypto. I'm trying to I really find it hard to read live. It's I just eat my words up. But anyway, it's just me making an effort, trying to
Yeah.
sound smart for you guys
No,
because you like the updates.
I like what you said about that though, Camsky. Like it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day price action. Um, but one quote I really loved over the weekend that I came across is the antidote to worry is perspective. And it's so important to just zoom out, look at these cycles, um, and just realize we're gonna make it, we're gonna get through this. And when you zoom out, you see crazy dips in the past and you see how things come back. So I think it's just important as we go through this week, especially it looks like into the weekend we're going to have a little bit of volatility. There's the US PCE inflation data price index that's going to be released. So it's basically like an inflation gauge, and it's looking like it's running around 2.8%, still well above 2% target. But if it comes in hot, it's quite possible that this is going to reduce any chance of a January cut. So, but if it softens, we might start seeing pricing becoming more accommodating. So either way, there might be some volatility this weekend. This is dropping Friday morning US time right as Asian markets are closing. So apparently Powell's tone is hawkish, which means basically pretty spooked. Risk on assets are going to be a little bit not ideal. I feel like people are probably going to be more opposed to risk on assets when you're having a hawkish tone like this. But hopefully it won't be too volatile this weekend. So yeah, those are the three things to look out for: is Bitcoin hovering above 86K. If we break that barrier, we might be really threatening this 80K threshold. Also, Bank of Japan, keep an eye out for that this Thursday, Friday, and this Friday, keep an eye out for this PCE index release. But yeah, we're gonna bring on David very soon. I think let's go ahead and jump into trenches real quick as well. I know there's been a lot. I feel like it's so fun, Camsky. You were on the ground at Breakpoint. What were you hearing on the ground from people? I know Wet has had a 33% increase just today. So it seems people are
Yeah, we
super
called
bullish on
it
that
last
team.
week. I mean, I know that a lot of you come through our show to actually like see our guests, but I do have to like say that we've been actually making some pretty good calls. We don't make many, but the ones that we've called along the last few weeks have actually been doing all right and holding up. So you can see here, this is wet. Wait, let me zoom out here. So this is the OKX DEX. Again, if you're not familiar with the platform, it's great. If you don't know what token this is, just go on the AI Insights. So again, this was a token from Humidify, and it's a Solana-based prop AMM protocol. So here you go. It's a little pump. Also, I always keep these from the past shows. So obviously market hasn't been looking amazing, but there's still some coins that are holding up pretty well. This we went over last week. It's still alive. I'm so glad because you never know. What did we get? Yeah, 67. Also still holding. I mean, it's not the billion. It's not in the billions, but it's still holding at a 12 mil market cap. So it's not bad. Niche baby. I don't know how this is still alive. I'm so over this meme, but it's still holding there. So sorry, I don't know what's happening with this Zoom. Oh my God. Yeah. Anyways, there's a lot of noise here on the chart. Give me 1 second. Why is this doing? Okay. So as you can see, there's quite a few bubbles here. You can obviously remove all the stuff by just removing the markers. These are just interesting to see if you want to do a little bit of analysis on like who's in there, who's tweeted about it. Like OKX really gives you a lot of information, and then you can see the vibe score is still pretty high. Yeah, pretty impressive, honestly, given conditions. I mean, we're at like 800K. It's not huge, but for right now, I feel like we need to lower expectations. And also one of the things that was talked about a lot during Breakpoint in the last 2 weeks was that we're actually moving to a more sort of like, rather than speculative market and industry more towards infrastructure. Obviously, crypto markets need to converge with traditional finance, and if they don't do so, there will be a bit of a problem, right, for crypto as a whole and blockchain tech. This is kind of like the main narrative that, or at least the main point of discussion that people brought up, is that this needs to now be integrated, and for chains to stay relevant, they need to be able to execute and provide speeds. And it's not so much short steps, but it's really to really enable this economic activity, including payments. There's a lot of talk about like crypto cards being like really hot. We saw CAS having huge momentum. Soulflower was giving out cards. Crypto.com is also pushing their card again. So there's a lot of talks about payments, about AI. Bitcoin miners are actually shifting and deciding to dedicate their computing power to actually AI rather than mining. So that's also interesting. I wonder what you say about this. Is this a problem for Bitcoin? I kind of want to dig into that. If anybody knows, please let us know. Maybe we can talk about it on our next episode. We can get a Bitcoiner back.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting you were saying, like, how do we stay relevant? Things with, like, stable coins, like, is that going to are we ever going to see that consolidate over from, MasterCard, Visa? Are we gonna see, like, dollarizing countries? And I think one trader I was talking to over the weekend, he was like, "Oh, I love being able to trade equities on chain. This is probably the best use case for crypto right now, is trading equities on chain 24/7, trading them outside when the market's closed."
But
I feel like
that's also because crypto is not the strongest asset right now. Like if crypto
right.
was the strongest, I would be trading crypto. Now, the only problem with that, in my opinion, is that fees are way too high. I think there was some news of Interactive Broker actually doing something with crypto, but I was driving and it was like don't quote me on this because I have no clue what it was saying, but I saw Interactive Broker and crypto. I will dig into this news later. But the thing is, right now for equities, the fees are too high. I'm sorry, it's just like too expensive to do that. Anyway,
Yeah.
I know that we need to bring David on.
Yes.
One last
Yes.
news.
Yeah, let's Let's bring
before.
David up on stage. Oh, sorry to cut you off, but today we're joined by David Hoffman, co-founder of Bankless, one of the most influential media brands in crypto. David's been at the center of on-chain movement for years, helping onboard millions to understand DeFi, Ethereum, and what it means to be bankless. And you've shaped how builders, investors, and institutions think about the future of money. And you've really had a front row seat at so many things happening in Web3. So yeah, David, welcome to Top Signal.
Thanks for having me on,
Um,
guys. It's an honor to be here.
yeah, I think it's so funny. You were telling me that just earlier before the show, you were saying you almost had a show called Top Signal.
Yeah. It was a fun extra like content that we did on weekends at Bankless, and we just called it Top Signal. It lasted maybe like half a year.
I love that. I love that. I feel like, yeah, it's very much aligned with how we think of the show is like we don't take ourselves too seriously here. We love just to have a easy flow conversation. We love bringing on the chat as well, just being part of the discussion. And but yeah, no, it's so good to have you here. And also happy holidays very soon.
Happy holidays. Yeah.
You have anything fun planned?
December is the best month. Yeah. Technically my birthday tomorrow, so I get to
Oh my
enjoy
goodness.
birthday in the middle of the holidays, which is the best time to have a birthday.
Happy birthday. Well, as an adult,
Yeah.
I feel like you get to celebrate. Maybe as a kid, a little bit traumatic. Um,
For me, my holidays just come a little bit earlier than everyone else's.
that's nice. Well,
Yeah, as
we're
long as
glad
you're throwing like
to
a banger
celebrate.
a holiday birthday party.
Yeah.
Good,
Well, we're
good.
glad to celebrate an early birthday, and we have a really. I mean, we've been actually looking forward to having a bit of a prediction for next year kind of show, and this feels special. I mean, you obviously have one of the most iconic crypto shows and beyond crypto out there with you on board so many people, as we were saying earlier, and I feel like you just give off just great vibes. So it's fun to have you on. We're super happy to have you here.
Cheers.
How did you
Yeah.
how did you create Bankless? What's the origin story?
Yeah, I got into crypto in 2017, and I really felt at a loss as to like how to work, how to contribute to crypto, because I was just very non-technical, and I thought I was just like resolved to having to learn how to code. And then one time I just wrote a quick article about something that happened that I was watching happen on chain. It was like 400 words, very short, and I just sent it out there into the ether, posted it on some of the subreddits, thinking I was going to get like 50 reads. Ended up getting something like 500, which was like the first good like dopamine hit of content production that I ever got, and that kind of just snowballed into learning that I could just share ideas with good writing. And that turned into a podcast, my first podcast before Bankless, with a Bitcoiner, where him and I would just yell at each other about our disagreements between Bitcoin and Ethereum. And then my current co-host, Ryan, with Bankless, he was listening to that podcast, and then I was also reading Ryan's stuff. So eventually I got tired arguing, and I wanted to find somebody who was more aligned with my ideas, and that was Ryan. And so we started the podcast in 2020.
I mean,
It's pretty epic because like this even turned into a whole conference as well. Like when was the first permissionless?
Permissionless. The first permissionless was 2022, right after Terra Luna blew up because we had Do Kwon coming as a speaker, and then all of a sudden he was not coming as a speaker. Very quickly thereafter. So it turned into we also had a lot of MakerDAO people, and so the MakerDAO people at permissionless were like saying, "We told you so."
Oh snap! It was like a contentious moment. I feel like was this like the first official Bankless FUD?
I mean, because we had Do Kwon at the conference.
Yeah.
I
hadn't
wouldn't.
finished
I wouldn't say
saying-
so because it's like we kind of were trying to get everyone, and so and we also had the counter, the opposing side of Terra Luna, and so we were you got to play both sides. You can't really on stuff like that. You don't really want to pick teams. I've always been very involved with the maker side of things as well. So no, I wouldn't say there was too much fun there. Plenty of fun in other spots of the market though.
I mean, it's been a crazy ride if you think about it. Where I feel like right now we're at such a stage in the market where it's very clear that the direction where that people had envisioned for crypto has evolved. The state of the market has matured. we're converging into tradition TradFi. You know, I mean, we had the big news of Farcaster ditching socials. Surprise, surprise, there's not going to be any crypto social. Personally, I really tried. I really tried to post on there. It was so hard. But yeah, I'm just curious, like, what do you think of, you know, and we spoke about fundamentals earlier. Do you think we're still in a 4-year cycle? Like, have things changed, or are we part of, is this a new era for crypto?
I think the 4-year cycle is always destined to die. And I don't think there will be any one moment where there's just complete consensus that, like, oh, yes, clearly the 4-year cycle has died. There will be the 4-year cycle believers who will have enough evidence to say, like, oh, the 4-year cycle is still intact. And then there's also going to be sufficient evidence for on the other side of things where people get to say, like, oh, no, clearly the 4-year cycle is over. I'm on the 4-year cycle is over camp. And that goes, part of the reason is kind of to some degree what you said. There's a lot of, there's a bifurcation in the market at the moment. Like, we on Bankless use the metaphor of, like, we're going west. We're going off into the frontier. This is the Wild West. Well, we've been using that for 5 years now. Like, now the East is actually growing quite a lot. Like, TradFi in Wall Street on the eastern side of the United States, like, they have a very big presence in crypto. But
Right, 'cause
also
you
you
go
can,
Bankless, right? So how,
yeah,
how,
yeah,
does,
yeah.
how do you feel about that? Obviously,
I mean, financial
yeah.
institutions need to go bankless too. And so, like, banking and, you know, giving up some of your sovereignty to a bank is more of an idea than it is a specific concrete thing. And so the whole rise, you guys were talking about crypto credit cards and like the rise of neobanks. Like, everyone is just using Ethereum as their bank account. And so the rise of neobanks is a very bankless phenomenon, even though those customers are trusting the neobanks. Well, the neobanks itself is still, like, on net more bankless. It's kind of a nebulous concept, but nonetheless, like, there is this half of the market that wants to stay in the Wild West. And then there's the other half of the market, which is, like, the very polished on-chain equities, compliant ICOs, like all of these TradFis coming in, like Tempo, for example. And I think we're just going to have to live with this, like, two different worlds in crypto. And again, this was inevitable. This was always the plan. The plan was to always get Wall Street on chain, and this is just what it looks like.
Right, and it's funny because from one end we have that, and then on the other side we have a mass, you know, campaign for privacy and Zcash, and nobody talks about Monero for some reason. But yeah, like, is privacy, like, real at the end? Like, do we really have a shot? I feel like it's too late, anyways. And if you really
Yeah, with AI scanning the blockchain and everything, like, is this actually
right, and the thing
even
is, like,
possible?
if you're going to be using that, you're going to put yourself at risk. You're better in some cases, like for I guess normies like us, unless then you're an entity and so on. Before retail, like, if you're going to start using these privacy protocol, like, you're putting yourself, it's like a red flag. Like, why do you need that level of privacy when you could just, like, hide in the crowds? That's just, like, my personal point of view. And I know I know you had the founder of Proton as well on the show recently, and I've listened to the discussion. I thought it was really interesting. To me personally, and I used to be very idealistic in that sense, and I just feel it's a lost battle that would make me feel so powerless because it's a bit late. And yeah.
Yes, I do agree with you that in 2025, I wish we had more access to, like, consumer privacy on chain. There are things like Railgun, which is pretty good, and I'm optimistic that Aztec can really shift the Overton window. Like, the worst case scenario is that we get privacy through using some of these institutions, and so, you know, the people that also want privacy are institutions. People coming on chain, like Tempo, is going to have to put privacy on chain because if they want businesses to transfer, you know, millions and millions of dollars of deals, those businesses don't want to disclose who they're doing business with. And so
that makes total sense.
That makes total sense. And so at the very least, like, once the businesses, institutions negotiate with the nation state for privacy, well, then user accounts will be able to get privacy with those institutions. But I think to your point, like, do we as individuals get to have privacy on our own, or do we have to use an institution to access privacy? Those are two different kinds of privacy, right? One is the cypherpunk side of things, the Aztec side of things, and then the other one is more or less kind of what we have today. I was talking to Stephen Goldfeder from Arbitrum, asking him at DevConnect, asking him about like what is he doing to bend the Arbitrum Orbit tech stack to fit the needs of institutions. And his answer was like, oh, well, they are looking for a very specific kind of privacy, a version of privacy that looks kind of like your bank account, where we all have bank accounts. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, I still have to write a check to my landlord. And you guys can't see my bank account, but the bank can see my account. And there is bank to user transparency, because that's just how it works. Mm-hmm. And they are building that. They are building customizable Arbitrum Orbit tech stack for that level of privacy, that format of privacy. And so we do know that there is privacy being built. Whether it's the privacy that we want as individuals is still up in the air.
Why do you think people talk so much about Zcash and not Monero?
Because Zcash does have a modicum of compliance. And so you can generate like a proof, a hash, so you can disclose your transaction to your accountant or to the IRS or to the nation state to make them happy, whereas Monero, you can't do that. And so like the hybrid unshielded versus shielded address just works well with the traditional financial system, where like Monero is just like straight hardcore cypherpunk middle finger privacy, which is like, it makes it harder to justify to the nation state that this is good, because it's just antagonistic to everything that they want, even though it is privacy preserving to individuals.
Right.
I saw this cut of Andrew Tate over the weekend, basically kind of
is that your kind of content, Elizabeth?
No.
Subscribe to Andrew Tate clips?
I'm gonna put the finger on the Thread Guy show. He brought up this clip. Andrew Tate was basically saying, "Oh, this." Why do people care about privacy? Because, banks will just be able to, or the government will just be able to like scan the blockchain, see what people are sending. And regardless, as long as they know you've sent something, you might have the ability to send Bitcoin, but they can still lock you up. At the end of the day, like the government will always still have like physical power over what people are doing, as long as they can just see, okay, you sent something, and then you won't be able to, like from prison cell. So I'm like, okay, what's like the core use case of privacy in this case? Is it just shielding from the government?
I mean, this is a very broad philosophical question of just like, why do individuals need privacy? And my basic answer is just like, individuals having access to privacy is a fundamental check on power. And one of the cool things about cryptography is eventually cryptography will get so good that we will have the technology to have all the privacy that we will ever need, no matter what. Like the arc of cryptography goes and bends towards being very powerful and very discreet and very low intensiveness, so that you can access full scale cryptography on your phone. Eventually, that will happen. By 2040, we will all have like weapons grade cryptography accessible on our hardware, on our local hardware, and so we will be able. Whether we have the technology or not is not up for debate. We're getting it. The big question is, can we get it soon enough to make it a societal norm before the nation state comes with their banhammer and says like, you can or cannot do this? And I mean, like you talk to Zuko, you should have Zuko on, and he will give you like the argument as to like why the micro erosions of privacy ultimately leads to like an authoritarian state apparatus that all of a sudden, like there are cameras in your homes looking at what you do to make sure like you're not having bad thoughts about the state. And so like the idea is that like
ChatGPT when you tell them you had a bad day.
yeah, I'm sure like the base use of like what I would use privacy for today is like pretty innocuous, but like I still want the right. Like as an American, we believe in freedom, we believe in the sovereignty of the individual, and that ironically, sadly, our privacy is actually not in the Constitution. There's not any really amendment that gives individuals the right to privacy, but it does seem philosophically aligned with Americans.
But like, aren't you so happy, or at least for me, I'm speaking for myself, like when you get targeted by the great ads, that's like, yeah, this is actually what I want. And then you go and buy it and you're happy. I'm so torn because
I do appreciate a good Instagram ad.
You know what I mean? It's like, you want privacy, but I like to get good recommendations on stuff to buy online.
Yeah, but you're also not going to go full privacy off grid like cypherpunk
I don't
hardcore. Like
know.
just selective
No need to.
privacy. The choice to have privacy, I think, is pretty important.
Yeah, I'm not at that stage, you know. I don't really have that much to hide, to be honest. So yeah, I'm not
Yeah, I feel like I would definitely be one of the lazier people to opt for
I think
convenience
privacy
over
is mostly a
privacy.
UX thing than it is a technology thing.
Yeah, truly. No,
but
okay, but maybe we should bubble up because I know we're gonna come to time in like probably 20 minutes. So, we brought you on today, especially because we would love to hear your hot takes for the new year. You know, there's so many. I feel like of anyone, you probably have one of the best broad views about what's happening across the Web3 ecosystem. Um, you know, you and Ryan are always like chatting with some of the most brilliant people in the space, and have come up with your own. You've done your own shows in the past covering what are your predictions for the new year, and so I just wanted to like kind of wedge into that and see if you could bring us some predictions that you've kind of come up with for yourself in the next year. What it's maybe we start with number five. Let's.
Yeah, I was about to ask. Do you want me to go 5 to 1 or 1 to 5?
Yeah, let's do
yeah,
5 to 1.
Let's
5
do
to
it.
1.
Count
All
down.
right. You guys ready for number 5?
Yes.
Quantum continues to crescendo as a societal issue is my fifth prediction. This is the thing that I don't think will be that loud, but if you pay attention to it, you'll kind of see it coming. There is a left curve investment thesis I have around quantum of as we approach like a sufficiently sophisticated quantum tech stack where like quantum actually is like doing the thing that it promises to do, we start to get something kind of like Y2K. Y2K was very societally relevant because it was so acute. Like on January 1st of 2000, everything blows up. And we don't quite have that with quantum, but we do have the notion of just like, once we have a quantum computer, everything blows up. And it's not just in crypto. Crypto has to deal with it ahead of the curve, but there will be tons of pockets of the internet that just break because of quantum. And so the left curve thesis is like, because this is such a loud thing, quantum stocks, quantum whatever, will I think be actually a pretty good investment category just because of how societally loud it will be. Whether or not it's like a good, sound financial investment from like the economics or the fundamentals, I'm kind of taking
It's the mind share.
It's a mind share, yeah. It's
Mind
like a
share
narrative
equity.
thing, yeah.
Okay,
And so
okay.
I don't think that happens in 2026 because we still need a couple years, but nonetheless, we will start to see quantum weaknesses start to become pretty loud as like a social topic.
Is it gonna come steal your Bitcoin? Yeah,
Not my
people.
Bitcoin.
Not your Bitcoin, of course, but you know how people are saying once like quantum computing is a threat to everybody's holdings.
Yes. I mean, it's almost a sure thing because we know that there are dead Bitcoins out there. And we also know that quantum will be able to access those dead Bitcoins. And so I'm kind of following Nick Carter's thought process here is like either those Bitcoins end up in the hands of China or they end up in the hands of the United States. But like the government apparatus needs to work with their local quantum tech sector to steal the Bitcoins before the other nation state steals the Bitcoins.
Oh my god!
Can you like break
Other
down
Mongox Bitcoin stealing.
like high school level, like what is quantum thesis like people that it's kind of new for them?
Yeah, I wish I was that smart. Breaking it down to simple terms is difficult. The way that I kind of explain quantum computing is like it's not just faster classical computing. Like, so when we have our normal computers and our phones and just classical computing with classical chips, like we're going from like a Model T Ford to, a Toyota to a Ferrari, depending on how good at computing we are. Like as Moore's law increases, we're going faster. Quantum computing doesn't do that. It's like instead of going and being a faster car, it's like actually we now we have a boat. We can actually compute in a different direction across a design space, a computational space that we never really had access to. And when it comes,
We started off with number 5, which was about quantum computing. Yes, and the thesis that if that's going to be happening, no one's stopping it. Should be investing in that. What's number 4?
Number 4 is robotics tokens experience a price mania despite being completely vapor. And I'm kind of mapping this to the whole AI vapor tokens mania, of which there have been like a couple. The most recent was January of last year. And I think robotics is also kind of like quantum going to just crescendo in social relevance. We're going to see clankers walking amongst us from Elon Musk and Figure. It's just going to become very socially relevant. And therefore, traders in the zeitgeist are going to find some robotics tokens to pump to the moon. And they're going to have zero fundamentals. It's going to be all narrative. But nonetheless, I think sometime in 2026, there is like a robotics token vaporware mania for the on-chain tokens.
We
Oh
did
no,
have
dogs are coming to life.
Oh yeah, no, I did see them. So I was at Breakpoint, right? And we had some clanker fights, which were very interesting. And
Clanker fights? Oh, the boxing clankers?
it was so
Look, like
funny
you
to
are, the
watch.
writing's already on the wall. Like it's a
So
spectacle.
funny.
It's
It was
hilarious.
fun.
It's entertaining. And it also is like very real about what the future looks like. And so at some point, the traders are going to start putting money on robot tokens.
But I think they did. It was hilarious. They had an MC. Imagine being an MC for a clanker fight. Like a new job, a new profession has arisen. You're gonna be MCing at these fights. Which, oh, by the way, I was telling you guys earlier, but I will be fighting in real life a real person next year. Probably
Not a
the one.
clanker.
Not
You'll
a
be fighting
clanker. No, I don't want to break my. Although they weren't their stability was not so good, so they'd have to improve. But yeah, I'll be fighting next year, so hopefully.
Please don't get hurt, Camski. I need your brain for the show. Don't get punched in the head.
I will train. I promise. I need to start running.
All right. Prediction number 3, Dave. What you got for us?
All right, so we're getting into more serious predictions now. So number 3, approaching number 1, the DeFi mullet grows faster than it's ever grown. The DeFi mullet is a meme that we coined at Bankless of just like fintech in the front, DeFi in the back. And I think at this point in 2026, with institutions coming on board, especially actual fintechs like Robinhood, just the leveraging of DeFi apps and on-chain activity while providing like a fintechy front end to its users is kind of just where a lot of the Loki of innovation is going to be found. And so we saw this with the Aave app. Even Aave is building a fintech front end while having its own DeFi app in the back. And I think this is where some of the most value is to be found for builders and entrepreneurs and investors. And so I think the DeFi mullet is going to be a huge investment theme. And that's actually going to be where most people get onboarded. And so we're seeing this with the neobank resurgence and the crypto card growth, like EtherFi, for example. Neobank, fintech app.
OKX Pay.
Yeah, OKX Pay. Yeah, so get stablecoins into the hands of users via the fintech layer, and then all of a sudden a bunch of other fintech apps are going to become more viable because so many more people will have access to stablecoins because they'll already have some sort of stablecoin fintech app. And so this sector, I think, is going to be very loud this year.
Right, that's like the real plug into the capital markets. It's becoming, real utility. Because at the end of the day, I know everyone's about hodling and so on. Like you don't sell your coins, but you need to be able to sell them and exchange them for things. So it's finally, we're having way more products to do that, and that will give you also options. I know that like Coinbase, for example, or some other places, you can basically collateralize. I mean, this has been going on for a while. Like you can collateralize your crypto and get some products like loans and financing and whatnot. So yeah, like the world is finally recognizing crypto as a real asset class. I feel like we're there finally where mom and pops can only use it. Pretty cool.
Right, the accumulation has not stopped despite this crazy liquidation event in October. Institutions are still buying. All right, I know we're just zooming right through. Prediction number 2, Dave.
Prediction number 2, this is my favorite, the return of ICOs. We've already started to see this, and we've already started to see more ICOs happen because we've seen ICOs. So we're already into just like kind of the follow-on ICOs. But there was Mega ETH, Monad, Aztec, a few others, like Infinex is doing one. Token sales, public token sales are back, and they're compliant. ASIC doing a very good job getting legal opinions about the legal status of their token before they even did an auction. And I think that this is going to be the next wave of token distribution mechanisms. Token distribution mechanisms have been just a fundamental part of crypto. Airdrops, yield farming, points programs, all that BS, honestly, really was just roundabout ways of doing an ICO. And they just weren't doing ICOs. The industry wasn't doing ICOs because of Gary Gensler. Now he's gone. And ICOs are just like a logical conclusion of token distributions. And so the token sales back, it's going to be glorious. It's going to be how tokens get into the hands of communities. It should have been this way. It should always have been this way. But now we're finally back at the correct logical conclusion of token distribution. So I think there will be just a ton of token sales in 2026.
Yeah, never underestimate the bandwagon effect of all of a sudden everybody's like, oh my gosh, wait, this bank's doing it, they're doing it. Okay, we got to do it. We all got to pile in. So that's really exciting.
No, and I mean, there's been big news actually. Like today, Fogo just canceled their ICO. I don't know if I can share my screen here, but if not, we can just move on and we'll cut this part. But yeah, we've seen Avicii. There's quite a few projects that we've mentioned actually live on stream that have had successful ICOs and are still holding and actually provide utility. I feel like there's a big shift from going from a lot of vaporware project to real utility. We've seen the meme coin wave, and now we're going back to the roots, right? Which is giving financial services and the possibility of investing and to people that are not accredited investors, which ultimately is going back to the initial, the core values of crypto, which is quite nice. I feel like we've gone a bit full circle. In some way, we're diverging from those ideals, but also integrating that because we are giving people access to these pre-sales. If you participated, you could have access into the Mega ETH pre-sale. All you had to do was tweet and hold some NFTs and be part of it, which is the beauty of crypto. And so for the people that also feel like we're gone so far from these initial ideas of decentralization and just having a new new financial paradigm that's like going away from institutions. Well, it's a mix, right? Like it's an in between. So there's good things too.
Agree.
What's the next one?
Last one, number one.
Drum roll.
Drum roll. The theme of 2026, the thing that's going to define all of 2026 is tokenization. I think the tokenization buzzword is going to grow in TradFi on Wall Street. And the main motivation behind this is because Larry Fink's article in The Economist, which was, written by a boomer for boomers. I just have this like visual of Larry Fink just putting his arm on his hand on the shoulder of every other boomer who's reading that article and being like, we figured out what blockchains are for. It's tokenization. We're going to do tokenization now.
Boom, finally.
Yeah. And so I think we're going to see, there's already the generalized issuers. So there's a prediction inside of a prediction here. So the prediction here is 2026 is the year of tokenization. The prediction after that is that there is a significant amount of growth going to be found in verticalized tokenization platforms. So we have generalized tokenization platforms like Securitize, what's Robert Leschner's? Robert Leschner's company, which I can't remember the name of at the moment. There's like generalized issuers where people will come and like tokenize anything. There's going to be a growth in tokenization via more verticalized platforms, so more niche assets, more exotic assets, where not just the asset, but the data relevant to the asset and the CRM for that asset is just kind of all built all in one vertical app. And that's kind of like the next frontier of tokenization that's beyond some of the more common assets like T-bills and well sought after securities, but getting into things like, I don't know, car loans, car registries, like other types of real world assets that need a little bit more of a white glove service in order to make its way onto a chain. So verticalized tokenization platforms specifically are going to be that sector doesn't really exist, and I think it's going to definitely exist by the end of the year.
What do you think about real estate on chain?
Definitely one of those examples of a very hard sector to tokenize. I would know because before I did Bankless, I was a COO for a tokenized real estate startup back in
Oh,
2018
wow.
to 2019. It's very much a legal question than it is a smart contract tech question. And so this would be one of those examples of it needs to be pretty verticalized. Of they need to do a lot of like all the document management and the legal management and the data, and they had to like the company had to operate and like maintain the actual houses, which was just a huge capex expenditure, just a very big burden. But they tokenize homes, and so stuff like that I think is going to become a very very popular investment category in 2026.
X402 as well, like all the micropayments and just like, do you think that's also going to be part of this
Yes,
overall meta?
X402. I think I didn't have that as one of my predictions, but I'm also very much watching X402 because I think it's had like the surface area of value creation and like commerce that X402 produces, especially for like the average individual, kind of in the same way that YouTube opened up an entire industry for content creators. I think X402 does pretty similar things. It allows people to build funnels for money based off of value and services that they create and add to the internet. So yes, in addition to the 5 that I have, I also really like